Hello and welcome to Real Monsters, the Mini Monsters companion discussion podcast, where we take the stories from Mini Monsters, which we drop on Spotify weekly for free, and we discuss them here in length, one by one. This week's kind of cool because we get to go back to all the way back to the start.
To the very first.
When we call the Creepypasta Crypt, and we were supposed to be doing creepypastas. And because we were doing Rader this week, Dennis Rader this week, prepare yourself for that. Because I'm telling you, we were going to record this last night. But by the time we had watched enough documentaries on him and listening to his daughter talk about him, and then when you were putting Fionn to bed, I threw on my headphones and I listened to an interview he did in 2021.
And you're just sick of it.
And by the time it was done, I was so depressed. I was just like, I don't want to record this anymore. I can't talk about this man again, not right now.
Yeah.
You came into the room, I was like, can we just record this tomorrow? I can't fucking listening to him talk. But we'll get into him, how we ended up getting coming down that line. But because that story is so long, we only recorded 3 mini monsters this week. Is what we're going to do. Some weeks we'll record 4 brand new ones when they're shorter. But when we got someone of the magnitude of Dennis Rader, or like we did with Bundy, it requires more time. Yeah. So there'll be bigger episodes, and then we'll throw in a rewind episode, which we will start with number 1, and we'll work our way through up into the 100 and whatever it was before we switched everything to mini monsters.
Okay.
So the first one you ever decided to do was what? Nera and the Cruaichain, is it?
Nera and the Hill of Cruaichain.
Or the Hill of Cruaichain.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit? We're not going to dwell long on this, but why did you pick this one first? Did you see this as like a kind of Irish Celtic creepypasta?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was young enough when I read it first, and it kind of freaked me out. Like, I was young, like, reading it.
Well, see, I think the thing about it is we showed our age when we called that show Creepypasta Crypt.
Yeah.
Because we had no fucking idea what a creepypasta was. We just thought they were scary stories.
I knew what creepypasta was, but
you just thought it was just a scary story.
I did but I did the Russian sleep experiments as well, and that was going grand. But it's really hard to find them that aren't cheesy, and they're fine when you read them in your head. They're scary, and then you kind of act them out.
You literally have to make it like an audio play of each of the mini monsters of the creepypastas.
I think I'd rather see them as TV shows.
And you just kind of ended up slipping into cryptids and paranormal and everything.
Because it was much more fun.
Oh, yeah, way more entertaining, and it's turned the Real Monsters into what it is now, which is way more fun for us.
Yeah.
But I did like this first story.
So did I.
And it was one I listened to a lot because obviously it was one of your first ones, so I would have been listening to it repeatedly.
Yeah.
But do you want to run through it really quick?
So basically, one Halloween night, the warriors of Cruaichain, where they were having a feast, and the king at the time, King Ailill, he offered a prize to any man who was brave enough to put a wicker band around the ankle of a corpse that had been hanged to stop it from resurrecting, because it was Halloween night. So I
love that about this country. What? That we are the Irish. We are the origin of horror. We are the origin of Halloween. We are the origin of the most fucking devilish night of the year. And on top of that, we are also the origin of the drunkest day of the night of the year.
That's true.
You want to come to Ireland, we'll scare you and we'll get you drunk.
So you don't care about being scared.
Usually we'll get you drunk first, then we'll scare you with the stories.
So anyway, because obviously it was Halloween and it was a dead body, Nera was the warrior that was courageous enough to volunteer. So when he got the wicker band anyway and he placed it around the corpse's ankle, it moved and it asked him for water.
What's the relevance of the wicker band?
The wicker band is supposed to stop him from coming back to life on Halloween.
Okay. So it was superstition.
Yeah, it was superstition.
Yeah, I get it.
So anyway,
Corpse about to start talking. I shouldn't be just questioning the wicker fucking thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go.
And so Nera said that it would give him a piggyback, and he carried it to a house to get water. But when they were approaching the house, flames sprang up around the house, and then they tried a second house, and that was surrounded by water. And then on the third house, they were able to go into the house. And
he was looking for water.
I know, yeah, but they couldn't.
Couldn't he just stop at the second house, have a drink?
That's true. Was he looking for water, or were there people? No, maybe there were people throwing out water. That's what it was. There's people throwing out the water, because that's an old Irish thing as well about like throwing out the water. But there's people throwing out the water.
Is that where the saying "don't throw out the baby with the bathwater" comes from?
No, throwing out the baby with the bathwater comes because, like back in the olden days, and you're going to fill one tub. So dad gets to go first, then mom, then the kids, and then the baby. Yeah. So you're getting rid of the bathwater, so make sure, But Yeah, so then they went to the third house and they were able to get into the third house, and he had 3 cups of water, and then he spat the water and the householders, and that killed them.
Sounds like a video game. You have to do everything in 3 stages. It was like the first stage, no go, fire. Second stage, no go, water. Third stage, we got there.
Kind of reminds me of Master Blaster.
What from fucking Mad Max?
You run around yeah. So after he got the water, Nera brought him back to the gallows. But then when he went back to King Ailill's court, the hall was on fire and all the inhabitants had been decapitated.
Oh.
Yeah. So he thought that he saw an army going into the hill of Cruaichain, so he followed them inside. And inside that hill, he met a woman of the side who told him that the destruction that he had seen was only a vision of what would happen next Halloween, unless the warriors of Queen Maeve and King Ailill destroyed the hill of Cruaichain and defeated the side army.
Do you know what confused the absolute shite out of me for ages when I was learning about Norse paganism? And one of because obviously they don't have your traditional Christian heaven.
Yeah.
They have different kind of stages of where you could be going. And none of them are particularly terrible. Hell is actually just the normal place to go. It's not a bad place, it's just a place.
Yeah.
There is a certain part of it reserved for very, very bad people, but, whatever, it's like jail. Whatever. Yeah. But, there was one part of it, and it was like most decent people just make their way into the mountain. And I was like, into the land within the mountain.
Okay.
And I was like, what the fuck? And then when I was reading more about the Irish, and it's like, well, they're kind of portals into another, into the fairy realm is what they'd call it, but into the realm of the gods if you're an Irish pagan.
Yeah, because a lot of people mistake it for the underworld, but the Celtic mythology doesn't really have an underworld.
No. Actually, it doesn't. We don't really have many bad guys. Ours are very anti-hero kind of guys. Like our guys, it's like there's a lot of we're typical Irish. We just fight amongst ourselves, and then we get over. Everybody gets over it. Like it could be like the smallest thing that will get everybody over, and then it'll be fine for ages, and then someone knock a tiff off again, and it would like someone drop someone's pint again, and it would all kick off again, and they'd be fighting with each other. But it was always us fighting ourselves for some reason.
Yeah, true. So Nera went back anyway, and he told Maeve and Ailill what he had heard, and then he'd found that no time had passed at all since he had left the hall to put the wicker band on the corpse's foot.
So it was like Flash style. He literally walked out the door and then walked back in the door going, guess what just happened, guys?
yeah. And so he warned everybody of the danger, and then he escaped with the woman of the side before Maeve and Ailill called on Fergus MacRiach to destroy the hill of Cruaichain. But in some versions of the legend, because this is what used to get me, is like, why did they believe him? Like you said there, you walk out, you come back into the door, oh my God, you're all going to die, I saw you all going to
we were discussing that. I mean, it is just that kind of thing of the timing, because you and me were sitting here watching Penn and Teller fool us, and the both of us looked at each other and it was like the whole Jesus water into wine, making fish and bread and all that kind of stuff seems so possible.
So well, in Nera's case, there in some versions he actually spends a year in the side before he goes back and he tells them.
Does he look older?
No, but he comes back because this is winter. So when he spends the year and he's like, how am I going to convince them? So he brings summer flowers to them. And they're like, oh my God, you must have been gone at least past summer.
Yeah.
He could have just grown them.
It's a cool legend.
I like it.
It's a cool story.
I like it
it's a cool kind of little Halloween story.
Yeah, when you read it properly, the corpse part is kind of creepy.
We'll have to look into that more, maybe coming into October, for mini monsters to bring back to that and look for real original Irish Halloween stories, because obviously the original Halloween stories have to come from us.
They do. It's the birth.
No, the Americans adopted it like it was their own. They fucking love Halloween.
We did this in an episode, in an old episode, the birthplace of Halloween in Ireland.
Oh, we did, yeah.
But
what I'm saying is, we just actually spend a week on mini monsters, covering some of those stories in October.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because you want to make the real monsters for me around that time as easy as possible. I will be deep in the mind of a bunch of serial killers again.
Okay.
But I did enjoy that story. It's an interesting story, and like I said, I can't wait to get into more of them. But we'll get back. I suppose we might as well jump on to our newer episodes this week, because we got some nice ones.
We do.
Before we get on to the absolutely fucking grotesque one. I'm really getting sick of that. He's just so weird. It is just such a weird situation with me with him. I really hate him. I really hate listening to him. And I, at the same time, cannot stop.
I can.
I can't.
I can.
I've read this story inside out. I've watched every documentary about it. We'll get into that after. We'll leave him to last because there's no point in... Because I think it might be hard to talk about Dennis Rader and then bring our mood back up to talk about the other two.
You better not be like a cock cat for the rest of the evening after this.
Nah. I mean, fucking BTK's been in my brain. He was one of the... He's probably one of my original fascinations when it came to serial killers. I mean, modern day, do you know when I became kind of obsessive about it when myself and you first started going out?
Yeah.
And I was like stuck to... So when I first found Reddit.
Yeah.
And suddenly I could find out everything about every last one of them and realised that Wikipedia had pages about every last one of them. But he was the first one I found who it was a case of, you know, whose story is literally like a movie. Do you know?
Yeah.
Everything, the way it plays out. We'll get into that because I have fucking my own ideas behind all of that. But first thing we could talk about, we'll go in order. We'll go with familiars.
Yeah.
Now, familiars, I noticed that in your portrayal of familiars, it was a lot of witches. What about the vampire familiars? Is Renfield not a familiar? Is our good friend Guillermo not a familiar?
Familiars originate though in witchcraft. Yeah.
So the vampire thing has just been added afterwards.
I think there is another name. Like, I don't think Igor was a familiar, was he?
No, he was a mad scientist assistant. That was completely different.
No, not Igor. In Dracula's... Renfield, sorry. Renfield. Yeah. Renfield, like, I mean, if he was...
Well, according to the movie Renfield, the latest one with Nicolas Cage, that is exactly what he was. He was Dracula's familiar.
Yeah, I thought there was a different name for them, though.
I think when they were their puppet, when she made puppets out of them, I think she kind of hinted that they might be like familiars or something because of that. So they played it in a different way altogether.
Yeah, I wondered
Buffy the Vampire Slayer had no familiars.
I think Renfield might be the original familiar, though. I think this might have been a Bram Stoker.
So, invention, yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah. This is what I'm taking from it. But
so it was mainly witches. So the whole idea of it being like an apprentice kind of like what we do in the Shadows, Guillermo, where he's basically the human that takes care of the needs they can't take care of as humans until he wins over or until he gets enough respect to become one of them.
Yeah. Like I presume in that sense, vampire familiars are humans, but then witches, vampires, they're not.
They're always spirits.
Because
I would have counted in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which I know is a terrible reference, but Salem.
He's a familiar.
But in the original TV show,
he's someone that was turned into a cat.
He was in trouble and he had been changed into the cat as a punishment.
Yep.
But was he still a familiar in that, or was he just...
No, that's familiar.
So he wasn't a familiar in the...
He wasn't,
Melissa Joan Hart one. He was just kind of imprisoned in the body for bad behaviour.
Yeah.
But in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, when the cat was around...
He's a familiar. They still called him a familiar in the original TV series.
Tell me something.
Yeah.
Because I had this little flashback in my head. I can't remember if it was last night or this morning when I was thinking about this. In the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I'm right in saying near the end, they did do a cameo with the original Salem cat, didn't they?
Was it when she was in her white place thinking...
I can't remember what they did, but the Salem from the original TV show did cameo in that at near the end, didn't he? Because I remember looking at you and saying, holy shit, look how fake it actually looks.
Season 4, episode 7.
So I'm right.
I think that would be
that's cool. But so familiar is basically the black cat you always see on the end of it. Traditionally, Halloween iconography, the witch on the broom with the black cat sitting on the back.
The black cat is her familiar, but a black cat it doesn't have to be. Yeah, it's basically it's supernatural entity, interdimensional being, or a spiritual guardian.
So it could just be a ghost.
Could be a ghost, yeah.
Could be invisible.
I mean, It's not just with witches either. I know that the Aboriginal people had.
I couldn't believe that. Oh, sorry. Go on. The Aboriginal people.
Aboriginal people, they had a familiar spirit. They called, their totem or spirit.
Well, they're a spirit animal. They're a spirit animal.
Yeah,
that's
but they basically, the shamans, they used to send their spirit animal off to find out information. But while their spirit animal was off getting information, they'd be like in a trance.
Or like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, like to this day, we still have that kind of in a way with all our. You look at your family crest. You're going to have an animal incorporated.
Oh yeah, but that's your logo. As in, like this is an intrinsically linked. But as in, like
that logo was chosen because it had something to do with your family lineage, your family spirit, your family thing to start with.
Yeah.
So it had to come from somewhere. And I feel like there was a hog in mine, in part of mine, and I felt like that was very appropriate with the headstrongness and stuff.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about mine is there's 2 lines, so I would like to know when the fuck my ancestors saw a lion in Ireland.
Not so much a lion, more fucking, I suppose, the kind of ferociousness, the bravery of.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the iconography of it. If that's where mine started, what I mean is, like, back hundreds of years ago, when was there a lion in Ireland to being able to see?
It would mean you have something to do with the British, who would have been over and back to the Indies and would have seen all this stuff in Africa where they had colonized.
I'm fucking Irish, thank you very much.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just calling the cards or the
There's a harp underneath the lines, though, so we're fine. And it's blue and green.
Hang on. I find all of those crests, those family crests, to look extremely British. I ended up designing my own family flag, my own kind of thing. I took the hog out of mine and did the red and black background. It's my background on my phone.
I know, yeah.
I love it. That's I see that as my family flag, crest, sigma, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I was getting excited about something, and we went off course, and that was you and me spent the entire time watching the chilling adventures of Sabrina, laughing our ass off every time that poor girl said cunning. And look at this cunning folk. What the hell? This is a real thing.
No, but cunning folk is a real thing. But she said, "I have the cunning." That is different.
And I just kept hearing, "I have a cunning."
Yeah,
and I was like, "This is disgusting."
That is an awful fucking word.
But you and me.
I would rather a hard T at the end of that word than a Y, to be honest.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, nasty.
But it was like someone who had a dirty version of The Shining, to be honest with you, the way she talked about it.
It's like with the old woman in The Shining.
What is the cunning? Is it literally what you said, like a kind of
what you see, clairvoyancy and kind of mediumship, I think. And
so our good friend Lorraine Warren would have been a cunning woman. In more ways than one. That is a good description. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't know if there's a pile more we can say about these
I like
guys.
the names. I will say that there
I'd like to have a familiar.
Grizzle and Greedy Gut were two like.
I'd like to have a familiar, to have an animal that hangs out with you. And I would be honest with you as well.
Pretty much a pet, Josh, for us.
Oh yeah, I know, but I mean one that's smart and intelligent and can do supernatural stuff, Amy.
What are you going to teach it to do? Card tricks?
Oh, we'd make a killing in Vegas. Penn and Teller fool us, no problem. Call my dog. But shit, I was going to say something now and I've fucking forgotten.
I don't think you could do a card trick without opposable thumbs, though. So,
if it's a magic dog, Amy.
Okay.
Right. Okay. But I was going to say something and now I've forgotten again. It's gone. Something about familiars that I can't remember anymore.
Sorry.
Yep. See, interrupting me all the time.
Yeah, but
I fucking fully admit I take up like 90% of the fucking voice.
My mouth is open for like 90% of the show waiting to say something, and it's like.
It's almost like an anxiety thing that if I stop talking, I'll forget. Not forget.
But why do you think I'm pulling out my hair by the end of the show? Because I've forgotten like 100 times.
But it's not that I'll forget what I'm going to say. It's almost like I'll lose my rhythm. Do you know what I mean? even when we start the shows, people don't know this, like, but we will sit here and sometimes have the microphone sitting in front of us for an hour, and Amy will be waiting for me to just go, okay, I'm ready. Now, I've gotten over that. Like you saw there, I just turned around, I was like, you ready? And I clicked yes, and I was like, once I click play, it's almost like I'm live on air at that point, and I have no choice, and it just switches on. I've kind of managed to get myself back into my wrestling mentality of, once the fucking music starts playing, you're have to be the other person, so you might as well do it, and there's no stopping. The problem with podcasting is it isn't live radio, so I get to choose when I press start and when I press stop. So I have to stop doing that, and I'll just press play and just be like, fuck it, now it's on. I just gotta be that Harley Ray guy again for a while, you know. I do like being Harley Ray. Anyway, before we get into Dennis Rader, let's talk about a romantic man. A true romantic. I kind of feel bad for this guy.
A lot of the public do.
No, and to make it worse, but what he ended up with in the end, he probably could have built and not gotten in trouble for. in fact, if he lived long enough, he probably could have had an even more lifelike version built for him.
The obsession was so strong, it wouldn't have been the same. Even having her bones, like, that's how much he was obsessed with her, would have been fine for him, I'd say.
But that's all he had left by the end. And a paper mache fucking thing around it.
And possibly died with her, like, had the body brought back to him again, possibly.
Do you want to run through that really quickly?
Yeah.
And then, because I know I'll be probably taking up most of the talking with Dennis Rader, because you don't exactly like talking about him.
It's not that I don't like talking about
it. But you don't want to have to go through the details again. You have to do it once.
Oh, I thought that some of the details, thank God, I thought some of those were going to be in there, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to cope with these ones. But I was like, I wasn't just going to read those out. There are a lot of them, too much.
The first is the worst.
I can't.
First is by far the worst.
I don't like even thinking about it. But back to Tanzler, he was a radiologist that basically he fell in love with his patient. And her name was Elena.
It's like Baby Rudolph or Reindeer. What is it? Rudolph, Baby Reindeer. What's that thing?
Baby Rudolph sounds so cute. Baby Reindeer.
Baby Reindeer. This is like Baby Reindeer from the early 1900s.
So Elena had TB, and most of her family ended up dying of TB. And Tanzler, he was basically kind of treating her. He wasn't really a doctor, but he kind of was. He was a radiologist, but
do X-rays and stuff.
Yeah. But as in treating her, as in like recommending stuff and things like that. And she eventually died. And she was buried, and Tanzler went back and got her body.
With Robert West on it.
Yeah, brought it back to the home, filled her chest cavity to kind of give her the form of an actual person. Used loads of chemicals, formaldehyde, stuff like that to kind of bleach, to mask the odour and keep her looking pretty in the bed beside him where she slept every fucking night.
That's literally fucking... Back to Frank Zito again.
Yeah. He
maniac with the baby, with the doll in the bed with the scalp on it, and then the rest of them are around the room with the scalps on it.
All her bones were held together with piano wire.
People don't realise. I think people think I'm joking when I say like that. After I watched I loved the movie Maniac. I think it was great.
I thought it was good, yeah.
But there was something about it that unsettled the fuck out of me.
I think that was intentional though.
And you know, really, like to the point that like close to what it was like when I saw the Texas Chainsaw for the first time. But with the Texas Chainsaw, I knew what they were trying to do to me. Maniac kind of caught me off guard a little bit, and it was weird watching Captain Lou Albano do all those dirty things. Anyway,
but
before anybody fucking. Because in the future someone will hear me say that, I know it's not Lou Albano in fucking Maniac, right? It's Joe something or other. He was in The Godfather fucking part 2. I know who he is.
Yep.
It's not Albano.
Yep.
He was too nice a man, and he was too busy being Super Mario Brothers.
Yep.
Anyway.
Tanzler, when he took the body out of the mausoleum, he actually paid for her mausoleum as well. But when he took the body out of the mausoleum, he brought it back home in a toy wagon. I think that image in my head is actually kind of comical.
Like a little red wagon with the fucking body. Like Burke and Hare coming down. We watched the Burke and Hare movie last day when they fucking end up accidentally letting go of it and they have to chase it down the fucking road in the wagon. It's in the barrel. That was it. They had a wagon at one stage as well. Finally getting to it to slap and just sitting on it for a second trying to look casual.
Then trying to straighten out the body made my tummy turn a tiny bit, just the noise. But Tanzler, with Lena's body, he put back all the bones together with piano wire and stuff, and he
basically made a
he replaced her skin with silk cloth and plaster Paris. The silk cloth was coated in wax.
Okay, I have a question that will decide whether I think this man is... whether I'm sympathetic to this man or I'm disgusted by this man. And the guy was fucking married to start with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Did he just hug the body, or did he enter the body?
Okay. So there's no contemporary photographs of the autopsy or photographs taken, when the body was on public display, but it's claimed that there was, in 1972 it was claimed that there was a vaginal tube inserted into the vaginal area of the corpse that would allow for intercourse. That was only mentioned in 1972, and they were talking about the 1940 autopsy of the body.
Was there a possibility it was put in there in the 40s for some reason while they were doing the autopsy? So,
no.
Most likely, he was.
Could have been. He could have. Most likely that. But I'm in his defense. I don't know how. Like, do you know, like as a radiologist and like he's filling the chest cavity and all that.
Yeah.
Would he want to put something in the vagina if he's keeping the form everywhere else? Would he put something in there
just
to keep
to be
the form of it? Yeah.
I suppose they'd be able to tell if there was wear or tear on the tube. If he had
Unless he's
it.
replacing his tube.
And what did because I'm looking at his Wikipedia page here and it says spouse, it does not say divorced. Did she stay with him?
Yeah, she basically supported him.
In what way? He was in love with another woman so much so that he dug her up and lived with the body. Did she know the body was there?
Yeah, but like he went to court and all over. Like, so if this is public, like it was sensationalized at the time.
No. Did she know prior to him getting caught that he had the body?
No, because this happened in he did this.
He wasn't married when he did it.
He did. He was married.
Oh, okay.
So this happened in Key West in Florida, and then after
by the name, I thought he was German.
No, and then when the shit hit the fan, he went then to Pasco County, Florida, and that's where his wife Doris kind of close to where she lived. I don't know how she supported him, but apparently she did in his later years. Yeah, I don't think they moved back in. They lived close to each other, but he moved away for work, and I think it was pretty much just tough shit after that. He found somebody else.
Okay, so they were married kind of in the old school divorce where you don't actually get divorced, you just separate.
Yeah, but I mean, like, to support someone that had done that, there was obviously a bit of love there.
But again, what he's done sounds more like
Obsession.
Mental illness than it does bad. He didn't kill anybody, he didn't hurt anybody. He desecrated a grave and he desecrated a body, but he did it then as well out of a sense of love in his head, which is crazy. That's untreated mental health.
Well, he had visions as well. According to him, he had visions when he was younger of, like, I can't remember her name, but some apparent kind of countess ancestor, and she told him that, he'd find this like mad love of his life, and that he'd be a dark-haired exotic beauty. And then when he saw Elena come into the hospital, he was like, oh, that's the girl from my vision, and this is what my ancestor told me. And that's what sparked it. Like, he was convinced that this was the person that he was supposed to spend the rest of his life with.
Yeah, it would be different if it was like, because like you could compare this to Dahmer and Nielsen, but because they were lonely and they were trying to keep the bodies, but the difference there was he wasn't using the bodies in the same way. And it was love for one person and just this one person, as opposed to a need for general love or general connection that Dahmer and Nielsen needed, but didn't know how to put together.
That's murky as well, because apparently there was a letter found in 1982. Yeah, it was the renovation workers. They found a note allegedly written by him confessing to having killed Elena, and it read, "She died because I gave this to her mercifully. I mixed the root of wolfsbane with aconite diluted.
How?
It was palatable, and my loved one departed this miserable world on October 25th, 1931. Suffer no more, sweet Elena. I have sent you to the angels with my golden elixir."
How much credence is put into that, though? Is it? Surely someone has done some investigating into
I'm
this.
having a look. I know that it's talked about by is a historian David Sloan on his podcast.
I was about to say there seems to be a podcast about the whole fucking thing.
That's Night America. I'm not too sure.
So I don't know. So we don't really know. So if
the
fact that you get
everything happened except we're not too sure about the tube, and we're not too sure if you 100% killed her.
Go look at our TikTok or Instagram. There's a video up there. It's the Mini Monsters episode about this, and there's a picture of what was left of Elena when he was caught. And it's
put her body on display for what was it, 6,000 people? Why put the body on display? Like what she'd already, why not just put her back into the ground at that stage? Why bring her back at 6,000 people?
Well, what was left for her to put in the ground, bar her bones.
But she was reinterred in a mark grave, allegedly.
This is almost as creepy as the mask that you will see, or the face you will see in the next Mini Monsters episode video too, that will go up, and that'll be of our best friend Dennis Rader, Rader, Douche Rader,
Dick Rader,
BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill. We've talked about him once before on the original Real Monsters.
Yeah.
Now, it was basically what you did on Mini Monsters. This is our third time talking about this prick. And he's probably going to talk about him again and again and again, because he's just one of the people. Until he dies and nothing new can come out. Because now apparently there's new bodies.
Yeah?
And we'll get to that. I have a nice little timeline here in front of me that we can kind of run through so that we don't have to go through every detail again.
Okay.
If you want all the details, listen to Amy's episode. It's over 20 minutes. I think it's about 25 minutes long, where she literally goes through the fucking profile of the basics.
Yeah.
Who he is, where he came from, what he started, what his job was, what his family was, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But we have since watched a few documentaries with his daughter involved, Kerry Rawson. And as I said, I listened to a half an hour of this man clatter on about what he did, and then I've always tried to avoid, I've always wanted to watch the confession tape, the thing where he stands up in court and tells him everything he does. And it's a lot. I think it goes on for about 40 minutes. And if you listen to our original episode about BTK, back at the original Real Monsters, it's a very long episode, and it's a very long episode because half of it is us talking about it, and the other half is that confession. So you can listen to it. You can go back a few episodes and or go back to original Real Monsters on Patreon. Listen to us talk about it. You can fast forward us talking about it, because we're going to talk about it again here on Mini Monsters.
Yeah.
And listen to the end. I think it's about 40 minutes long. And I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it. And I always thought in my own head that it was something he was enjoying and bragging and kind of, almost like putting on a performance for, and that's what I would be watching. And we were watching a documentary last night, and the motherfucker sighed as he fucking like an inconvenience to have to stand there and fucking do it. Not that he bothered him, he was just, I think he got, so when they were showing the victim impact statement,
he got a kick out of that.
I think he was creaming his fucking pants in the corner of the room, loving it.
Yeah.
Watching him and relishing every fucking part of it. And that's the thing, like, everybody says like he fucked up, he was stupid in how he fucked up and got caught, and that it was such an idiot move. And I told you that I have a theory that what actually happened there was, because he went missing, we'll go through it all, but he went missing in 2000 for ages, and came back in 2004 after an article was written about him, and threatened that he was going to kill again. And I think at that point his age kicked in, and when he started preparing what was going to be his comeback kill, he realised he wasn't able to do it, but he still wanted the fame of it. And I think the retirement plan was always to get caught. always to live off of the fame of being, because what's the point in doing it and working so hard to play with the police and working so hard to build a legacy of this killer if your face isn't going to be attached to it by the end.
Yeah, I get you.
And he was that narcissistic that he would want it. And it seems like when he got caught, the way he acted and the way he spoke, he had no problem with it. And stuff his daughter said about a couple of weeks or months beforehand, it seemed the way he was acting.
Yeah.
We can go through it all again. Again, everybody knows who this fucking asshole is at this stage. BTK Dennis Rader was a man who killed 10 innocent women
not just women.
8 innocent women, an innocent boy, and an innocent father of that family.
And a girl.
Well, I was counting her in the 8 women. Unfortunately, but she was only a little girl. That one's the hardest one to talk about. I don't think we're going to get deep into that. If you want to know about that, you can check out Mini Monsters. It's there. Go back, listen to the original one. It's the Otero family, and that's where he it was interesting listening to him talk about it. And and I'll tell you why. She just rolled her eyes at me. Not at me, but at him. But I'll tell you why. Because there's a theory that they've been looking into. And this is what will bring us around to his possible new bodies. And that is that he was hiding bodies in silos and stuff like that. And farms. And when I was listening to him talk for the half an hour yesterday, and he spoke about this, he said he expected his target was the mother.
Okay.
Everybody else was collateral damage. He knew the daughter was going to be there, but he was going to get rid of her quick, he said. He had planned to kidnap him and take him to a farm and hang him there and jack off and do his shit. And then leave the bodies there to be found, or hide the bodies. But when he got into the house, he found that Joe Otero and his son was still there. And again, for the gore details, listen to Mini Monsters. Basically, he kills all 4 of them. The daughter, and all of it's terrible, but the daughter was specifically terrible. Even though I think that might be what helped get him caught, because he left the semen sample there. He went on anyway to commit murders. His basic way of doing this was he would stalk a victim for a while. He'd call them projects. And once he picked his project, he would sort out a time to get there, usually cut their phone lines, and then break into the house and wait. And he'd have his hit kit with him.
He'd have his what?
Hit kit is what he'd call it. So it would usually have pieces of fucking string laces, knife, gun, balaclava, gloves, all that kind of shit. Tell the woman that when he surprises the woman, usually at gunpoint, he'd tell him that he was going to that he had a sexual problem, and he was going to tie him up and have sex with him, and then he'd let him go. And then once he had him tied up, he'd tell him who he was, and he'd kill him.
Okay.
Fucking really, really dark, fucking scary shit. And what made him dark and scary was the fact that outside of this, now most people will tell you he was a bit of an arsehole. But outside of this man lived a regular fucking life. Normal ass life. Leader of his church, a leader in the Boy Scouts, fucking helped in the community, had a daughter, had a son, had a wife, none of who were aware of what was going on. Held down jobs, was a regular ass guy in the community. No one would have fucking, like his daughter said, like to everybody, they were just a normal family up until that day. That even when she was confronted by the FBI, because apparently the FBI knocked on all their doors at the same time. So they knocked on, they went for the wife, the son, the daughter, and him all at the exact same time. All in different states. Obviously, the husband, him and the wife are in one state. The brother and sister are in different states. And she said that she thought, because they turned around to her and said, "Do you know the BTK killer?" And she said, obviously, she was like, for her, the last real big kill he did, she was like 6, and it wasn't like like the BTK killer wasn't really a big thing, so she didn't really hear about it until later on in life. And it was like, oh, that fucking thing happened in my town, that's fucked up. But it wasn't, it wasn't something like an urban legend in their town. Once he went missing in the 80s, he just stayed missing and people forgot about him.
Yeah.
And she said when she heard that, she knew that the type of victim he went for was usually single women at home.
Yeah.
So she worried about her grandmother, and she asked, was her grandmother okay? And the cop said, yeah, your grandmother's fine, but your father is BTK. And she said she heard nothing after that. She said she was trying to hold herself up and all this stuff. But that they had obviously, she said later she realised they were obviously all searched or approached at the same time.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to see how much the family knew about what he was up to. But their reactions of the family left the police know instantly that they were completely unaware of what he was fucking up to. Now, as I said, about the time his family, he had a young family. But I think she said she was 6 when her neighbour went missing.
Yeah.
And that was one that he didn't claim responsibility for until after he was caught, because he thought that it was too close to home, which it was. But I said to you when he was saying that, it was like, well, what do you mean too close to home? If they're thinking the serial killer, if they think it isn't a BTK killing, then they are going to look at the neighbours because it's somebody local. If they think it's BTK, he could be anywhere in the city, so they wouldn't focus on you. Why are you fucking doing it the wrong way?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the last time she remembers. And then he stopped. He said that he never stopped kind of stalking. And then that he used to go away on weekends for work, and he'd get a hotel room, and he'd do all this bondage stuff and take pictures and all this stuff, but he'd lay out their driver's licenses and pieces of jewellery and pieces of underwear that he'd taken from the murders, and he'd have a whack fest for the night and go absolutely crazy with all of his souvenirs, but he'd keep them in a locked suitcase and he'd bring it with him.
Yuck.
And that he had hidey holes around the house with jewellery and licenses in them, and he'd say, and not just women he killed, but people he might have been stalking. He started to pick up bits and pieces from them. He'd break into houses from an early young age.
Yeah. He
said himself that when he was a kid on the farm that he used to love trapping and hanging cats.
Yeah.
But he had some fucking, I can't remember how he described it. He had some mechanism built, some trap built, so that whatever way the cat would wander in, their head would instantly get stuck and he'd be able to pull the string. And they'd be stuck in the box, and it's like they'd walk into the box and their head would walk into the string and he'd be able to just pull it. And then he'd start choking them straight away and they'd be freaking out and he'd just be sitting back there getting his jollies. And that's when he was like a kid. Yeah. He said the first time he remembers feeling a sexual notion towards somebody trapped or helpless was his mother. And I can't remember what it was again. She got stuck on something. I think she might have got stuck, her finger stuck in the sink or something like that. And she was asking him to go get help. And he said for a minute or so, he stood there watching and didn't go to get help straight away. He just stood there watching her squirm and trying to get out. And that was the first time he remembered feeling a weird, tingly feeling that he could now calls Factor X.
Yeah. Okay.
And he blames Factor X, which he says is uncurable. To be the reason why he does what he does.
Okay.
He just can't help himself. But it's like I said, it's interesting. And do you know the reason we look at him again this week is it is really, really, really clear after everything we've watched about him this week that this guy, his entire story is spread out over Dexter in every season in a little bit. Mm-hmm. There are so many elements of BTK in the Dexter series that BTK should be looking for fucking royalties. This guy is all over that fucking show. Dexter being the guy who has a family but has this side life that he has to try and keep hidden, that his trophies he's trying to keep hidden. He's trying to balance these two lives. He's trying to work out how to balance these two lives. The Trinity Killer is 100% based on BTK in every way, shape and form. The Doomsday Killers, where BTK had brought that fucking poor woman to fucking the church to pose her in BDSM positions in the church. Again, great fucking Christian leader that he was.
Yep.
It just feels like he's all. It's Dexter is a show about the many personalities of BTK, and that was a really interesting thing as well. An investigator said was I can't remember if she was an investigator or a psychologist, but she was talking about that Dennis Rader had that he even described it himself as his face is like a cube. And each cube has a different face, and each face has a different personality, and he's able to switch the cube.
Which side?
There's one real fucking side, which is the face that most of his victims see, but he can keep changing that, moving that cube, and every time he moves that cube, there's a different personality, a different face, and a different person to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
Because according to his fucking daughter, they had the perfect American family life. Like, they went on holidays. She said that like 2 weeks before he took his last victim, he took him to Disneyland. Do you know? He fucking, you know, they had family holidays every year. They had the cookouts, the fishing, all that kind of stuff. She said that he seemed a little down that last Christmas just before he got caught when they came home. And this is where my theory starts to come in, that I think he knew, because at this point he was fucking with the police again. Because what happened was there was an article that came out in 2004 kind of saying like, oh, it's the 30th year of the BTK killings, and this is who it's believed to have been and what it's believed to have been, and this guy put in all these theories that he had, and Rader basically, or if it was a serial killer, what might have happened then. Rader was like, well, these people aren't going to forget about me. So he stepped forward and started writing again. Because throughout his career, he was known for writing to the police. Cake TV being the one that got the most. And that is not a channel about cakes. It is KAKE. So they got most of the correspondence from him. And it was usually just bullshitty kind of fucking Zodiac fanboy kind of stuff. He admitted that as well. That he loved that he'd been following true crime for years. He had fucking idols. He looked up to Ted Bundy. He loved watching his news footage. Loved seeing himself in the news. Not himself, but his crimes. When they first called him BTK, he said it was the biggest thrill of his life.
If you think that he wanted to be caught, though, why wouldn't you just say, oh, you could find bodies here, you could find bodies there, if you wanted the fame?
Because I think it's not the storybook ending. He has to be captured. It's a movie in his head. He's playing it out. Oh. He needed the big grand ending. He needed to be taken down like fucking Hannibal. He needed to be taken out.
No, I understand that, but if there's more bodies there to be found now, like he's already in jail and he wants that fame and that.
Well, that depends. He made a deal for 10 bodies at that time, right? I agree with you. I do agree with you in that sense. But there is some thought to with killers that some of their early work that they might not admit to because they're not proud of. Because it might be stuff that it mightn't have went the way they thought, or it mightn't have been the perfect kill, or it might have been a fuck up, and it'd be embarrassing on their reputation as a serial, especially for him. As narcissistic as he is, he wants to be seen as the perfect fucking psychotic serial killer. So for him to have a line of fuck ups, there's only 2 or 3 bodies there that we're talking about. For them to be fuck ups, real fuck ups, he doesn't want them to be seen. He wants to be known as the first. His first kill was an entire family.
Yeah.
That has a better ring to it than I kind of fumbled on these 3 girls first and then hid their bodies in silos and fucking somewhere in Nebraska, like, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that theory, but I would agree with you. I would think that maybe he'd want to tell. He not like he doesn't mind talking. he'll sigh and huff and puff about it like a little bitch, but we have to listen to your shitty little poems, but you can't just fucking get through it. None of us wanted to listen to you, and none of us wanted to listen to you go through all that in that gory fucking detail. Not fucking one of us. We all had to sit through it, but the least you could do is fucking show a little bit or more. As you know, he apologises in that fucking that speech as well.
What does he say?
He apologised for the pain and suffering he caused families, and that, you know, he understands that what he did was wrong, and it's like, that sigh was just unbelievable.
It was just awful.
It was like I was kind of like just taken aback by, like, you fuck, you have the balls to stand in front of all these people who have to listen to how you murdered their family, and you're just gonna go. Then I realised that wasn't working, so I put another one over her head and continued to choke until she was definitely dead. And then
did he have to say all this?
I don't know if he had to go into as great a detail as he went into.
Yeah.
It was, I think, a part of the plea agreement that he wouldn't get the death sentence, he would get life in prison. But that he'd have to confess to all the crimes. He could have just as easily stood up there and said, I killed this person this way, I killed this person, I killed this way. I don't know, to be honest with you, because I haven't watched to see how much questioning happens in that, because I have never been able to sit down and watch it. I've only ever seen clips of it, and it's always him talking.
Well, I did see the clip that I saw, the judge did ask what
him
this
for
strangle
clarification
with,
on certain stuff. But I assume if he's talking already, they're going to need him to clarify certain fucking stuff. Whereas, I don't know. I think maybe a full confession was in a part of the deal. I'm not 100% sure. But it seemed like a fucked up thing to do. When you know someone is that narcissistic, it seems strange to put him in those positions where you know he is enjoying it. And that's what my belief is. My true belief is, whereas everyone else thinks that this guy made a mistake by sending in that floppy disk with his name on it, I think it was done intentionally. He had spent months up until this point sending him on a wild goose chase, on a fucking scavenger hunt for serial killer boxes, where he'd take fucking cereal boxes like Frosty's boxes and draw stuff on it. And again, back to Dexter, putting dolls in there in the position like like the little Otero kid that he hung. He had like a little bar with fucking a little rope and a Barbie doll hanging off it. He'd fucking, he'd do stuff like that, which was straight out of Dexter season 1, like. Yeah. If it wasn't for the fact that Dexter didn't come out until fucking after he was caught, I would say that it was the other way around, that he was fucking acting like Dexter. But I mean, I think he when he realised he didn't have it in him to kill anybody, or it was getting harder for him to do it, he started to get enjoyment just out of having the cops follow him around. And I think the plan was always for it to be this thing, like, imagine the movie, and I'm surprised there hasn't been a movie of the chase. I mean, we've seen movies like that where it's a cat and mouse chase, and that's how it was. And he's admitted that to him in his interviews, where he said to him it was a cat and mouse game all the time, that they were chasing him. And I think he planned every minute of it. I think he knew he was about to get caught. He said himself when the car pulled in front of him with the sirens on, he was like, "All right, this is it."
Yeah.
And I remember hearing, I can't remember where I've heard it, so I can't say this is a 100% for sure fucking statement, but I do remember at some point hearing that when he got into the car, he kind of looked at the guy, or it kind of goes somewhere. I have seen it very recently. It was on the interrogation footage, and it's very brief. It was like, well, you guys caught me.
Yeah.
And I think when he got into the car, the rumor is he said it took you long enough. What took you so long, or something along those lines. But when he's sitting in the interrogation room, it's clear as day he's sitting there. He go, well, you guys got me. And they said, can you be clear? What is your name? And then he says, I am Dennis Rader, the BTK killer. And then he turns around and he asks him, why did you lie to me? when I asked you about the floppy disk, if you could trace me on the floppy disk, why did you lie to me? And the cops turned around and he was like, because I was trying to catch you. It's like, oh, fucking duh. But apparently, like, because he had, because there was an interview with him, he did one other interview very, very early on, a jailhouse interview, and it's very rough, very hard to listen to. It was on the documentary with his daughter, and it was with one of these cake reporters, and he pointed out that Rader seemed very comfortable with him in the interview and very relaxed, and the daughter actually said the reason for that was Rader followed the every detail of the news and the every fucking article written, every news report about him so closely that he felt like he knew the news reporter. And when he was talking to the cop, he knew the specific cop who had been chasing him because of seeing him on TV talking about him and reading about bits he had said about him in the paper. He felt like he knew the cop. So when he met these two people, or when he spoke to this guy on the fucking phone for the first time for the interview, it was like he was talking to his mate. Because every evening he had been seeing him in his house on TV, talking about him. Yeah. And when he met the cop for the first time in person, it was like they had fucking he'd known him for years, like, you know. Yeah. And it was no big. It was like he was just chatting to friends, like, you know. And that was what was the daughter said was killer as well. That they were so convinced that they had the wrong man, that the mother and the daughter were on the phone to each other, and the FBI guys were around the place, like, at the same time, searching and talking to them. But they were on the phone to each other saying, they have to have it wrong. There has to be a mistake here somewhere along the line. They have the wrong man and all this stuff. And they were fucking vehemently, like, sticking to this. You have got the wrong guy. This cannot be my dad. And then they had to turn around and say to him, was like, your dad is currently sitting in an interrogation room confessing to everything. And she was like, trying to fucking put that in her head is like, what? Yeah. He's like, he is confessing to everything. And eventually it was like, she said she was never able to sit through the court shit either. She hasn't actually been able to listen to all those details. Don't blame her. She said she's been able to read brief parts of it before. It was like, I can't read anymore. And they did contact him. That his family contacted him directly afterwards once they found out he confessed to it, and asked him to plead guilty, because originally he said he wasn't going to plead guilty, and they basically pled with him to plead guilty to save the case, save a court case, save the witnesses, save the family, save everything, just get it done. And he agreed to it, apparently. Okay. But it felt like in that interview, because I was laughing at you, I was like, the interviewer, because this is for like, Cake TV is an ABC affiliate for a local station, so they're like the local fucking news, like Anchorman style, and this woman was like fucking Courtney Cox, fucking Gail Weathers. Very like her, yeah. Can you remember the end of that interview? Where she kept asking if you could talk to the victim's families, what would you say now? And I felt like she was like expecting Kerry Rawson to apologise for her father's actions, and I was like, no.
She does not have to.
And Kerry was trying to dance around it as best she could, and your one kept asking the same question, trying to force it, and then Kerry came up with the best answer absolutely possible. She was like, if I could say anything to him, I'd tell him I wish I could go back in time and none of this happened. Then I'd have a normal family and they'd have all their loved ones back. I'd have my dad, they'd have their family, their families, and that's what I'd say to them. What else can I say to them? But it was like your mom was fishing for her to apologise on her father's behalf. This woman was the most Gail Weathers looking fucking woman I'd ever seen in my life. Down to the suits, the hair, everything. But I don't know if I have much. We can just briefly talk about what he's being accused of at the moment. I'll get down there. He's looking old these days. I don't think Dennis has much time left. That's why the 2001 interview that I listened to was actually done, because he felt himself that his health was deteriorating. So actually 2019 gives first interview since his conviction. That was a letter to the Daily Mail. Hang on, no, I might just open link a new tab and see what we get. He compared himself to the Gilgo Beach killer. He reckons that they're clones of each other. So I'm going to look into the Gilgo Beach killer Rex Hoorman a little more to see what his background's like. He's kind of a fresh one, so I don't know if there's a lot of background out in him yet.
Okay.
I mean, fuck's sake, we're still waiting for D'Angelo's fucking background to come out a bit, let alone fucking this new guy that's been caught. So yeah, August 23rd, 2023, Rader is named by a prime suspect in 2 unsolved cases. Police in Osage County, Oklahoma, announced that Rader is the prime suspect in 2 unsolved murders in Oklahoma and Missouri. Now, I might be able to answer your question.
Okay.
Maybe he has not confessed to these 2 crimes because in Oklahoma and Missouri, they'll fucking kill him.
Yeah.
Whereas he was able to get a plea deal in, where is he from? He's from Wichita, Nebraska, which I suppose wouldn't, Kansas, sorry. Wichita, Kansas, which mightn't be much better, but there is a possibility that it's just a case of, because all 10 of his victims are in Wichita, that those rules apply, meaning he knows he's safe under those rules, whereas if he claims responsibilities for Oklahoma and Missouri without a safety net of the death penalty being taken off the table, he isn't going to do it. Do you know?
It's true.
So I would assume if they do think he's going to do, I'll read on and see what it actually says, but I would assume the smartest thing to do if you think he is guilty of it and you want to clear these cases is take the death penalty off the table, because this man is old as fuck and he's going to die of natural causes anyway soon.
Yeah.
Do you know, he's not in good health. He's old. Apparently, his daughter said he's like segregated. They don't. He's
they
not,
can't. Like,
no, for his own protection.
Well, I was going to ask that a few minutes ago. Yeah.
They give him TV and he's allowed limited computer access, I think.
Okay.
But he's got all his bits and pieces in his room. And he's allowed up for a little bit of extra, but he can't mix with the others still. Fucking. I assume a lot of these kind of weird serial killers would be the same. But anyway, you know, the people did. Maybe if you're like a serial killer who's an absolute fucking big, massive lunatic, like fucking that could rip your fucking head off, then they'd probably be safe in prison. But if you're like one of these weedy, weird fucks like Dahmer or fucking this prick here or Bundy or something like that, where you're just the weird guy who killed people, you know. So prime suspect in 2 unsolved murders. A search was conducted at a lot where Rader's home once stood. The authorities uncovered bondage materials and other items of interest. BTK is linked to the disappearance of Cynthia Kinney from Oklahoma in 1976, as well as the death of Shauna Beth Garber, whose body was discovered in Missouri in December 1990, which would put him a little later on with his game. September 5th, 2023, police announced they have possibly identified another victim of Rader. What do you say? Osage. Osage County Sheriff Eddie Verdon tells CNN that his team has possibly identified a young woman depicted in one of Rader's colour sketches that authorities have had since 2005. The woman, who was shown bound and gagged in a barn, is believed to have been from southeast Kansas and disappeared in 1991. With the help of tips received from the public, police say they will perform. Here's another question for you then. Was there any point in Oklahoma, Kansas or Missouri where the death penalty was not in effect and did come into effect again? Because then there's also the side of it of these crimes seem to have happened in the 90s.
Pre-death penalty.
So is it a case of if he admits to these? No, as far as I know, the death penalty was on the table and it was taken off because he admitted to everything. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to find out that.
Yeah, but if the crimes are committed at a time when the death penalty is not in law, I don't think you can receive the death penalty for it if it is reinstated. No,
you can't. No. But what I'm saying is, if the law was in place when he committed the crime, he can be charged for it, and that punishment
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So if the death penalty was in play in the 90s when he committed those murders, and it is in play now, then they can still charge. If it was in play in the 90s and it was out of play now, it would be gone. let me see here. He was sentenced to 10. Kansas had no death penalty at the time of the murders.
Well, shit.
So, let me have a quick look here. Kansas death penalty. Just see when they brought it in. So, capital punishment in Kansas. Currently, there are 9 people on death row. All males, lethal injection is permitted and execution. So, it is okay in Kansas now. So, when did it become okay in history? After 1976, it was permitted to states. It was reinstated in 1976. The death penalty was eventually reinstated in 1994.
Oh, so they can.
So he wouldn't get the death penalty. So then why wouldn't he admit to this? Oh, hang on, no, that's Kansas. Our man was. These bodies are in Oklahoma.
Oh.
So what we need to have a quick look is, and he is. Yeah. We might be wrong because we don't really know the American legal history and system that well. But from what I can tell, in Wichita, in Kansas, where his 10 fucking murders were committed, there was no death sentence. In Missouri and Oklahoma, there is death sentences. So that could be why he is not talking about those two or three deaths that have been, or bodies have been found. So unless they take that off the table, which would be the smart thing to do, but we're now in 2023 and that news came in we're now in 2024. That was a year ago nearly now, and there has been no real update about that. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what they do in connection to those bodies. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I think between everything we've ever fucking said about this man, we've covered it. But hang on 1 second. Oh, I shouldn't have pressed that.
Good job, Josh.
I allowed the fucking notifications. I
hate that because it's
no. I can turn it off right here. It's actually really, really easy. Apparently.
Oh.
I'll show you how to do it after. So yeah, there's an article here in the Daily Mail that he wrote a letter to them. It's not
the Daily Mail. The English Daily Mail.
.co.uk.
Huh.
No, it's just about him getting the star treatment in prison and that he's like the pet and all that. It's just him being a fucking knob that he fucking
getting star treatment, so nobody's going to fucking stab you.
Again, I'm sure we will talk about Dennis Rader over and over again. He will show up. He keeps showing up. And I do enjoy talking about it once new stuff comes up, but I'm so sick of fucking talking about all these old stuff now. I think I'm done with Dennis for a while. Yeah. We say that about guys, and then every other week they're brought up again and again and again and again. I mean, we talk about him constantly. D'Angelo constantly. Ramirez has been brought up a bunch of times. I had fun talking about Bundy, to be honest with you, last time. That was another thing this time. Like Bundy, listening to him talk about it is unsettling. Yeah. That calmness.
Yeah.
You really, really don't give a fuck.
Nope.
Hey. And I think hopefully he will get some extremely painful bone cancerous disease that will eat him alive from the inside out. And then we will celebrate BTK Death Day when he dies. And it'll be a international holiday.
Can you barbecue?
Yeah.
Thanks.
And we'll wear t-shirts to say fuck Dennis Rader on them.
What colour?
Or fuck BTK. Huh?
What colour?
We'll find out what colour he hates the most and we'll make it that colour. Oh God. Fuck you, BTK. I'm out.
Bye-bye.